You are listening to the USDN on the DSPN.
It's a trap!
What is up, everybody, and welcome to the United States Department of Nerds, where we are for the people, by the people, and of the people. Tonight's episode dives into a world where missing person cases aren't just crimes. There's something far more unsettling. A hidden government branch, paranormal activity spreading across a fictional American state, and a story that blends horror, sci-fi, crime, dark comedy into one connected universe. This is Ghostwood. And joining me tonight is writer Zach Zeman, correct?
Yes.
Who is building this weird fiction universe from the ground up and bringing it to readers right now. The Council of Nerds is now in session. Zach, welcome to the USDN.
Hey. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, dude, I've been waiting for this one. When you sent me the book to read, I was just like, oh my God, dude, this is so fun. So, but with that, Zach, why don't you give everybody like a quick who you are and kind of like what the premise of Ghostwood is?
Sure. So I am primarily actually like a screenwriter. I work mainly in film. I do a lot of like locations and special effects work. Locations, I know for a lot of people that's a confusing thing. It's not just like finding places, but it's kind of just like the IT of film sets where it's like logistical problem solving. But no, I'm primarily a screenwriter. And this is kind of, the manifestation of a lot of interior ideas that I had that I felt could never translate to film properly. And so what Ghostwood kind of is besides that is, it's a kitchen sink of these bizarre, sort of creatures. And so it's a frameworked giant fictionalized state where vigilantes are, completely legal and all these supernatural things are running around, and it follows kind of an X-Files branch that tracks these things, case by case, while, a bigger picture starts to sort of form.
So were you always drawn to horror and weird fiction, or did this kind of just evolve over time?
Yeah, no, I definitely, I was a monster kid. I grew up with like the Universal monsters. Like I was 5 years old watching Frankenstein and Phantom of the Opera, Wolfman and Creature. And if you look up on the shelves, you can kind of see a couple of them. They're probably hard to tell on camera right now, but, yeah, like I always loved the Universal monsters, Tales from the Crypt comics. I grew up reading from EC Comics. Just I was obsessed with those, Haunt of Fear. And I, watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer, X-Files, stuff like that. I've always been drawn to monsters. So they were something to me, like in a setting like this. They're not inherently what I find to be the horror element. Monsters are like the comfort element to me in this. And I guess that it kind of becomes apparent when you see where the actual horror comes from when you read it.
Yeah, it was a really good read, and I'm glad you brought up EC Comics because they came back and made this huge splash in comics, I think in 2024 again. And I've been loving everything they've been putting out. Like, it's just been so good. Their little horror anthologies they're doing. It's like, these are so good because it's so reminiscent of the earlier stuff from EC Comics. And those have been a lot of fun.
Art style too. Like,
yes.
It's just one of those things. It just got such a distinctive feel to it. I don't know exactly what it is other than like, I don't know, like it is very nostalgic as well. To anytime you look at it, you're like, I'm 10 years old and I have a flashlight and I'm in my bed, you know, looking at the covers.
So when did the idea for this book go from just being an idea into we're going to do this?
So I guess it's funny. I think it was around 2018. I created a Google Doc where I was just loosely throwing a list of ideas of different characters I had. Nothing unified even for like a universe or a world. Just this would be cool in something. This would be cool in something. And eventually that list was like 4 pages long, and I was like, okay, wait. So then I had to like I looked at it and I realized there was kind of a running theme between all of these, and I started to build out from there. And it wasn't until I think 2023 then that I finally I had known RJ for a minute, but I finally reached out to him and I was like, hey, I was thinking of potentially writing a comic, and would you be interested? So then, like, you know, I started to take what I did, and that was largely a world Bible or like a wiki, and you can see some of that being slowly transferred to the World Anvil wiki I have. But when I talked to him, then I started developing like the actual series Bible, like the narrative or my reference Bible, not necessarily like for pitching or whatever. But so yeah, it was like, I think roughly 5 years of developing the story, and then it took another 2 years after that to start to really get the story honed in and like structured out in a comic format.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. So what exactly is the government branch, and how deep does it go? Is it very X-Files-esque, or is it like X-Files and then like another layer down into it?
So yeah, like I guess the distinction here is like, because in the X-Files, that is specifically a department within the FBI. It's, those agents are relegated to the fuck up section. But with the IPC, it's an entirely different like organization or branch. Okay. Like, so it's like, the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, but this is one, the IPC is, you don't know this exists.
Okay.
It's one of those kind of like, okay, what is that? The IPC, like it's a name that maybe people have heard, and it's also kind of one of those 3-letter organizations that if someone flashes a badge, people are gonna be like, oh, okay, it's someone from the government. I'm not sure what that is. So yeah, it's its own separate branch, specifically created to monitor metahumans. But that was also like, kind of an umbrella purpose to also monitor paranormals as well.
I like it. And for anybody out there wondering, it is free right now on Global Comics. Go read it. It is such a fun read. And honestly, I'm so excited that we're really close to getting part 2 or issue 2 to this. So
Yep. Also, I'm trying to get in more stores in Atlanta, but I've got limited prints. So if you're in Atlanta, just kind of keep an ear out, ask your stores, and then some of those maybe will reach out as well and ask me to get them on the shelves. But no, right now they're at Dr. No's and Origin Story.
we're going to talk about that here in a little bit too, because it's really dope that y'all are actually in a brick and mortar. So why a fictional U.S. state instead of a real world setting?
So, a couple of things. I love the diverse geography of the West Coast, and I kind of wanted a story that somehow encompassed all of that without feeling like there were these separate um dividing regions exactly. Like if you're in California, then you're in California, then you're
Yeah.
in Washington. Like I wanted something that felt like you were in all of them, and it was this more kind of encompassed space of strange stuff. And part of that as well is I thought, why not play around with the history of that? Why have this fictional state? What would have ever been the reason? And I started to think of, what would be a fun twist. And in the world of comics, there's always why are the world of comics, and that
Yeah.
was a big thing with this, and a lot of this is me meditating on that kind of, how I've read comics and understood them. And sometimes there's little bits of world building that I'm like, I wish there was an explanation for blank.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're saying, because there's sometimes you pick up a comic and it's the issue 1 and you would expect some type of backstory or something, just context clues, something that will kind of unlock kind of like a place or a thing, and you just don't get it, right? But no, it's really cool that you are actually going back and you are just putting the bones into that. And the 2 states, like Washington and California, that is like 2 completely separate vibes altogether.
Yeah. And I kind of wanted it to, it's one of those things too, is to say like, it's not affecting this state, this state, this state. It's just, it's this state. So it makes it, it's what if Twin Peaks was a state kind of thing.
Oh, that's a good reference. I like that one.
So thanks. No, one of my favorite shows ever.
Oh, dude,
so.
100%. But so let's talk about issue 1 in the missing persons case. What makes this case different from a typical crime story, like Law and Order, SVU, whatever, whichever crime story you want or crime series you want to think about?
Sure. So it kind of, it does have that similar SVU human trafficking setup and story there. It gets pretty dark, and Frank Hooper is a vile human being. So he is kind of, a red herring in terms of what the actual missing person element is, but he definitely is the villain element of this issue. And that's what makes her case unique, is that her disappearance has nothing to do with the actual crime that was taking place. Her disappearance is the only supernatural thing that seems to have happened within that circumstance. And what makes it unique is just with something so specific like this that isn't a typical. What I like to do, and you'll see this in further issues, I like to have a lot of, supernatural elements that aren't anything in particular. They're kind of one of those things that makes them a little more unknown, more freaky for the reader, in terms of we can't necessarily explain what that is. But this is a launching point specifically because it is a case that is going to, and as you can see, it is not solved by the end of this issue.
Yeah, that was actually. I'm normally I expect a cliffhanger on an issue 1, but you left us on the cliff, like
Yeah.
the Sylvester Stallone cliffhanger movie where he's hanging
Yeah.
by the fingertips, and I'm like, dude, come on. And
Yeah.
you know, and I really enjoy that kind of stuff, but it was one of those where you also kind of like at the end of an SVU episode, right, where you get the bad guy, and you're
Right.
kind of like,
Yeah.
and it's
The
like, are we
bad
going to
guy's
get
not
that?
caught. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
exactly. Like, it's one of those things that there's no resolution kind of to anything. Um, and that is, I did kind of want to emphasize one of those real world elements where a lot of bad guys just are not caught. And a lot of things just, it's like we simply don't know. But with, I would say with this case in particular, it does affect, Roth in particular, because
mhm.
this is, his first case with the IPC, and he's introduced to it, largely as a preliminary, like,
So
what's your take on this?
he is a detective. For those wondering, he's talking about a detective in the story.
Yeah, so Agent Roth is now like this is going to be Terrence Vigil, who we kind of see most of issue 1 through his lens. He's the, I would say, institutional viewpoint into
Hmm.
things, and Roth is more of our like human story perspective of like with
Yeah.
through his eyes is how things actually start moving.
Hmm.
Um, I like to, think, it's very similar to Vigil is like a mix of Cecil from Invincible and David Lynch himself. Kind of like in terms of like I don't like a lot of it completely straying from the world of Invincible, obviously, as this goes.
Yeah.
But I'm saying in terms of like his government role to the main
Yeah.
character.
Just
Um,
scum and villainy.
yes, but like he's David Lynch, so he's got this like bizarre spiritual warmth to him in a perspective
Yeah.
that's sometimes like strange, but then very wise when you think about it in a
Mhm.
way. Um,
Just an odd mashup.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But no, so yeah, I would say with this case, Roth, keeps coming back to it. He wasn't going to
Mhm.
he didn't want to just like have this be something that he was tested on. He wants to try and solve what's going on with this case.
So, how does the paranormal element escalate the stakes within the story?
Sure. So there, it's one of these things where it's a world of you've got metahumans and vigilantes who are just people masquerading as vigilantes, but so you have this one kind of established threat through urban areas, through highly populated areas. And when the supernatural starts to actually become an infrastructural problem, it's kind of showing how this world has to shape and accommodate and sort of restructure not just its vigilante laws in the way that the public views that, but it's starting to get to a point that the public has to accept that these are a present element as well.
Yeah.
And so these are a lot of things that these cases are unsolved because of even institutes of the government saying that's bull. That's what is that? That's a bunch of baloney. Like we're
Yeah.
ignoring that. So then it just gets thrown into a cold case pile.
So, without spoilers, what's the vibe readers should expect?
Um, the vibe they should expect, I would say, it's pulpy, but kind of not in a It's pulpy in what we in RJ and I like to talk about is like a '90s kind of way. We've gone very heavy into a 90s style with a lot of vibrant portrayals of things. Even like the dark elements are just very toony. We both grew up watching some similar stuff. You can kind of see it in some of this art, but we're both big fans of the Jackie Chan Adventures cartoon.
Oh, dude, that was so fun.
Yeah, there's a couple like times where it's like you can see some influence in there, and when he like threw out a couple like original concepts, I was like, oh my god, do you know who that looks like? And we were then, geeking. But no, I would say, I'm sorry, I totally like blanked.
No, it was what vibe can readers expect?
Yeah, no, the vibe. So the vibe is it's pulpy, it's strange. I like to make it feel like you're kind of watching a 90s cartoon, a 90s comic. There is a lot of dark comedy though. It's not when I'm talking about disturbing human elements, it is not just like a lot of horror comics I know are just, some of them can be brutal. And when I say relentless in terms of like this, every time you're getting a piece of information, it's either surreal or it's you're trying to wrap your head around it, or it is super violent, or it is grotesque. It is some sort of disturbing crime, but it's not all of these things at once at the same time. It's sometimes one of them one by one, but it's almost page by page. There's something like that. And it's a big mishmash of a lot of these things that I've been talking about, things I love. So it's a pulpy dark comedy, relentless supernatural mystery. And even though there are superheroes in here, I would not throw that into its genre category. They're more of a world building element.
Yeah. So I was going to ask if this is more psychological horror or just supernatural chaos, and this definitely just leans more on supernatural chaos, which I'm here for, because like I said, it's free right now. It's down in the description of the video. Go give it a read. You'll have a lot of fun reading it because it's just such a fun story to read. But so right now, how deep does Ghostwood's universe go right now?
Oh, I mean, pretty deep. There's a lot. I've got, when I was talking about that doc, my reference Bible, it's pretty big. But like, I'm taking it just issue by issue. And I know that like, size can be daunting and sometimes sound ambitious, but this is something I'm not doing Kickstarters for. I'm just funding every issue with, pieces of my paycheck that I'm throwing out there. I'm doing this because I want to get the story out of my head. And a lot of this is, an evolving series of building a bigger and bigger picture. I'm a big fan of that kind of monster of the week format.
Okay, that was actually my next question is, will there be multiple storylines within the book? Like, I know in issue 1, there's like 100% just hanging off the edge of the cliffhanger. Now, will issue 2 pick up and there be a new case to solve?
So I guess, that's something people who aren't going to hear me say this in this right now, they'll be a little taken aback. Issue 2 is going to pick up from a completely new perspective, and it will be the next agent recruited in the IPC.
Okay.
And so that will be from her perspective, and it will be a bit more unconventional. It won't be like Vigil saying, "Here, come here, look at this issue. I want you to, or look at this case, and I want you to tell me what you think." It's going to be something different, a more hands-on not necessarily professional within the government investigation.
So with that being said, with issue 1 being one detective, issue 2 being another detective, what's the long-term vision look like for that? Like when you get to issue 3, will things come together, or will it be like an issue 5 and then you see things come together more?
No, so it'll be issue 5. The first 4 issues are the first 4, because this is an ensemble story.
Okay.
So it's gonna, kind of follow the whole team, but we have to introduce each member of the team, and they kind of all get their own personal issue that also gives the reader the sense of kind of the rhythm and the story of the week structure of Ghostwood.
Okay.
But by issue 5, we're gonna start to see a lot of these threads within the first 4 issues that are placed individually for characters, and then for the world. They're all going to kind of start to converge. Some threads are going to be revealed as nothing, red herrings, disappear. They just, kind of story of the week things, or background flavor of the thing. Because a big thing in this, sometimes in the background, you'll have an element, or there will be a page with a character on it that will come back. That is a thread being set up. Other times, and this is something that I have been very specific with RJ. I just love reading comics and sometimes seeing some of these characters that are never ever mentioned in the page. But like sometimes they're even recurring too, and I'm like, I love just the little detail, that design, their world building, their presence. So some of them are kind of like that, where it's just background character of the week.
You know what I really like about that type of stuff, and something I really like about, like, some comic books will do this, is you'll have like a random character page where it's just a character on the page. You see them from the different angles. It's like, oh, this is their height. This is this. This is that. Their favorite snack is this. It's just like a random page, like either toward the front.
Dossier.
You get like this dossier of the character. And then you may not see the character, but in the background. Or they're just like this random, like there's something going on in front, but that character's like back here, just chilling. You know what I'm saying?
No, I've totally seen that before, where it gives all their information, then they're just a cashier in the store that the main character is walking through. And
he buys his milk from the person.
Right. No, I love little things like that.
But for you though, that would be just like really cool. Like it doesn't have to be when you like your primary like ghost goblin monsters. It could just be like you could just make one up for an issue and just have this random monster dossier, and then people are just going to be expecting it to come back, and it just never comes back.
Yeah.
Or it pops up in the background of something else,
Yeah. No, and that's definitely going to be that is one of the kind of visual and narrative presences, or it's a narrative story element throughout Ghostwood to have little characters and moments like that. I will say though, like don't get me wrong, there are some characters, and I would say in this first issue here, I'm just flipping through the pages, and sure, for human characters, but they're pretty much every supernatural element you see will come back at least in the first issue. That is those are establishing some story threads, or at least some recurring characters. And that is the thing. I don't want anyone to feel particularly overwhelmed, because there's a lot of characters in this. But that is the story of the week element. A lot of these people are not going to be people you're going to need to remember their names. You're not going to need to remember the building they live in, or anything like that. It's just little story beats.
So I know you have this monster element within this world, obviously. I mean, I used the Ghostwood, logo with the monsters and the ghost around it, because I thought that was just a cool thing to have. So will any of these monsters or ghouls or goblins, whatever you want to refer to them as, because they're all very well drawn and very
Paranaturals.
well designed, paranaturals, there we go. Will any of those play a part of the story, kind of like it pops up and it's like, hey, you detective, you may want to look in that direction of this, like as a not a guide necessarily, but like, yeah, he's a supernatural, but he's also very helpful. He pops up sometimes and he's like, hey, there's this one bad ghoul over here that you might want to look into. That's his MO there.
So there's definitely, I guess it depends on what flavor of paranatural. I
Okay.
have a couple kind of variants of that. Obviously, there's a demon crime underworld. So like, very similar to if you see in a lot of Monster of the Week shows, sometimes there's a
Grim.
monster crime ring kind of thing.
Yeah, Grimm's a perfect example. And it
Exactly.
was in Seattle. It took place in Seattle, which is perfect.
Yes, exactly. So there's stuff like that with demon crime informants, like kind
Okay.
of measly demon characters.
Yeah.
There's stuff like that. We've got you know vigilantes that are actually paranaturals,
Mhm.
who are deciding to kind of live out in the open as a vigilante and actively trying to help people. Then you've got kind of mystery characters, people, or not necessarily people, things that are third party players, and it's not clear what their motivation is.
Mhm.
It's not, they'll be helpful sometimes. Other times they'll be completely obfuscating something, or they'll be just absolutely thwarting the entire plan.
Yeah.
And then there's sometimes just characters whose goals align, but I'll say not every paranatural is evil. A lot of them actually are not bad at all.
Yeah. No, I
Uh,
like that concept. Like
yeah,
where they're friend, like Jackie Chan's Adventures. Remember, there was some that were kind of like very chill and very like,
yes,
hey, how about I help you, and then you just save me for last, right?
yes, exactly. And there's a lot of that as well in like Buffy. There's a
Yeah.
lot of demons in that who are just completely good. They just look scary.
Mhm.
And that's something I like to have, and it will be present throughout a lot of Ghostwood, is that sometimes the biggest threat or the most evil is coming from a human element or a
Yeah.
human presence.
It's always the humans, man.
That's
Always the
another thing.
humans.
Like Nightbreed is a big
Oh,
influence. I love Nightbreed.
dude.
So
Same.
yeah,
Such a greatly told story. It criminally underrated, in my opinion, for it to be so
absolutely,
good. And
absolutely.
I'm gonna have to watch that now
Yeah, no,
because that's
I
just
just got the Ultimate Cabal cut.
oh,
So
oh nice.
I haven't seen that because it's like I think it's over 200 minutes long. So I don't even
Yeah.
know what is in there. I think
So
the
it's got
longest cut I saw was like 150 minutes.
I think that's I've seen the one that's 150, but 200 minutes. I might have to. Where'd you find that at?
I think it's I found a copy on eBay or something.
Okay,
They're up there every now and then.
okay. I'll have
I
to
think
set myself
mine
one
was
of
like
those.
$80.
I have to set myself an alert for it or something because I kind of want to see that now
Yeah,
because it's just
again, I don't know what's on it, so
practical effects though at its
so
finest,
good.
at its peak. The quills on the
On Talon
guy's
Queen,
yeah,
or
jeez,
in Shuna Sassy and her porcupine.
yes.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the way they just function and work and they do what they're supposed to do and it's all 100% practical effects and I love to see that even now today
Oh,
you're seeing a
absolutely.
lot more practical effects being used versus CGI and other stuff because just it's just something about practical effects. It just makes everything so beautiful.
I love them because it makes it feel it's like kinetic. It's like tactile and real for
Hmm.
the actors, for the viewer. um practical effects, like special effects and just creature design and puppets and things like that. They all
Alien Earth,
yeah,
perfect example of a recent one. Predator Badlands, another
yeah,
just really great example of just really well done practical effects. Right now in modern times, not everything has to be CGI. Stick the dude in the
no,
suit and let it roll.
right. And what I think why it works is because it's kind of it's visually physicalizing the imagination. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you're actually making an idea here, like you can imagine something that does not exist and now it does
Yeah.
because of that, and you've given it life on screen. And it yeah, I love anything from that era of I mean, if you look again, like all these
Oh
figures, a
yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
them are yeah,
Yeah.
so that's just like I've been a big, special effects guy, and that was what got me largely into monsters, was
Mm-hmm.
just like how do you make a monster?
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And the evolution of that has been really cool as well. And it's not just here, like people like tunnel vision, right? There's a company in South Korea that it's started by a couple of dudes who they started just making movie props like dead bodies, but they
Okay.
made them so ultra realistic that people are like, hey, can you do that for us too? Because the bodies look like, even the down to the bones and the meat and the guts, like
Yeah.
everything just looks so real. And people are like, how, like, are they using real bodies? No, they're just that damn good.
They're just that
And
good.
it's just a couple of dudes in Korea making, slabs of meat on a table for, you know, horror movies and stuff like that.
That's awesome. That's like the better happy version of I don't know if you know the guinea pig Flowers of Flesh and Blood controversy, like with the Charlie Sheen thinking it was a snuff film.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. No, these guys are good. I mean, they are really good at what they do. The bones, like if you break the bones, you get that what
that
it's
they put like a breaking. Oh,
yeah, they are
that's
like
good.
really good. So and I when we before we got started, we were talking and I was like, because unfortunately RJ wasn't able to join us tonight. He is family stuff come up, and as always, that should always take priority. But I was going to ask y'all about were there some moments within the story that kind of changed because of the art that RJ had produced? Or did RJ come back and say, hey, I like what you're doing here, but if we do this within the art of it and maybe tweak the story here, we're going to get something better out of it?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say for sure in a lot of ways. Again, when I wrote the script for the first issue, again, my first comic script, haven't I know there's not a particular locked format for writing a
Mhm.
comic script.
It's really
Um,
not. You just kind
no,
of wing it. And every artist
yeah,
wants something different, right?
yeah, and that's what I was asking RJ. I'm like, is this legible? Does you understand what I'm asking for here? And a lot of he's like, oh no, like this is. He's like, you write it like it's a movie. I'm like,
At the
yeah,
end of the day, a comic script should read like a movie script down to the elements, right?
yeah.
Is it
No,
raining? Is it
it
sunny?
should.
What does the town look like? What does it smell like? That way the artist can then visually make that come to life, because in theory the art should tell the story and the words just amplify that story to the next level, in theory, right?
Yeah,
And there's some that don't work that way, but technically that's how it should work. You could be able to pick up a comic book, and Peach Momoko's Visions is a perfect example of this. There's not a single word in the entire book. It's just her beautiful artwork. and it tells the entire story,
Yeah.
and you can follow it panel by panel by panel, and it tells this wonderful Star Wars story.
Yeah.
So in theory, that's how it should work, right?
It is a visual medium, first and foremost, right? No, that's definitely something that I was writing it like, and then seeing RJ's art, he was providing elements that I hadn't considered to tell the story. And so then I would, go back and revise it in a new draft. Be like,
Mhm.
oh, I can include this kind of thing here. I
Yeah.
didn't consider that. Like, for example, if you look here on the this page with the bunnies,
Oh yeah.
the hair brothers,
Yeah.
this guy, this was a little pop out. RJ threw this out here in a sketch and was like, what do you think about putting a little pop out here? And I'm like, oh my God.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, like, forget everything I wrote on the page. Like, let's restructure everything to fit that
So,
in there.
and there's really, like, comic books have evolved so much over the last 10, 15, 20 years, and they continue to evolve, right? People no longer worry about the gutters or and stuff like that. The whole page is available for you now to
Yeah.
do whatever you want with it, because again, it's evolving to that point where, a lot of this goes back to Image in the 90s, to where the whole page is there. Why not use it, right?
Yeah. No, and Image is visually a huge influence on what
Yeah.
we're trying to do here, for sure.
And I know before we went live, we were talking about Spawn, and Spawn to me is one of those where I can remember they literally was like, because I was used to like the older DC and Marvel, where you still had the nice white outline around each page.
Yeah.
Each panel was, you could tell exactly what it was. But now you don't have to do that. Like, yes, that's the very traditional way of telling the story in a comic book. But honestly, it's kind of boring when you see it now.
Yeah. So I totally like that, especially when you're feeling a story and you're reading something, and like, if something happens to a character you care about, or
Mhm.
like something lands in that story that you're like, oh my gosh, and just it's having that element that breaks that mold, makes it stand out. It really does drive that moment home, as opposed to just as you said, like
You have that single panel, and then you got to fit everything you want to inside that panel.
Right.
Now you can just blast it completely out and really hit that home. And that's what I love about modern comic books is the handcuffs aren't there anymore. You're free to tell the story and to use the pages of a book the way you want to. So shout out to those guys for really just taking traditional storytelling and just tossing that shit out of the window. So, but between you and RJ, how collaborative has the process been? I know you're working on issue 2 right now, but as far as like, as he's drawing your story, does he ever just like come back and go, hey dude, I know what you're doing here, but let's tweak that, and I think we can bring it to that next level, like, just how's that like collaboration between y'all?
Sure. So I guess there's been a couple things. One for characters, and then one for trying to visually sell a certain moment. Like, I'll talk more about the selling a moment first, because it has
Please.
kind of a couple examples in the first issue, where I wasn't sure. There were a couple times that I wrote a splash page, or I said potential splash page moment. Like, I gave him 2 or 3 options, because I wasn't sure. I'm like, this is a cool beat, maybe here, because kind of I wanted to stick to a rhythm of like 1 to 2 an issue max.
Yeah.
But I wanted to play around with where that could be, when that could be. And he, obviously picked the 2 that he felt were the best throughout the script.
Yeah.
But then there were a couple times that I was over embellishing the details for moments in panels that were not relevant.
Mhm.
Like beats or elements of the story that I was just kind of breaking down the motion too much.
Okay,
And
yeah.
so he came back to me and was like, "Hey man, like if you want that, that's gonna add like 5 pages from this like 3-page sequence alone." And I'm like, okay. So
Yeah.
like then we had to take a step back, and he was like, "Look, here's what I'm thinking," and he threw back a couple sketches where he took what was going to end up being like a 6-page thing, and he's like, "Here's 3 pages that
Mhm.
surmises everything still in the script. No missing text, no missing. It's just where he's taking motions that and RJ's really great at this. He'll have like a panel that you write, and then if you write, A to C, he immediately knows what B is supposed to look like and does
Yeah.
B instead to bring those two together.
Okay. That's really cool. And I know every artist is different. That's why I always like ask that question. Because I know some artists who they want the fine details all the way down there. And then
Yeah.
I know some who just like give me the story and I'll make it happen, Like I don't
Yeah.
need to set the scene, but that's all I need, right? Like if you tell me that it's going to be in a park, I know what a park looks like. You don't need to describe me a park. Unless there's something particular about that park that you want, and then tell me. But otherwise, just let me cook, right? And that's what I like is when an artist just goes, hey, just set the scene and then let me cook. If there's something that we need to tweak, we can tweak.
Yeah.
And for me, that just works, right?
And that's been largely there's a lot of things in here. Some of them are very specific from me, and then a lot of those were RJ just filling it in with so many little details and giving it just so much flavor and texture with those things. Occasionally though, when I would see some of those, it would then make me be like, oh, that's a great idea, let's do that here as well, or like let's make
Mhm.
that be a present thing, or like I like this idea of this being a recurring background billboard company. Like we would bounce
I like
ideas
those
off
little
like that.
details like that. And I think they're severely overlooked in a lot of comic books because they're fun little elements that you can play with. And there's no rules
Yeah.
to them, right? So you can literally just make up whatever the hell you want and slap on a billboard anywhere in a comic book because why not, right?
That's like, I think, to me the most fun I've had with writing comics is that type of thing where there are
Yeah.
no rules. You can really kind of go nuts with it. And then sometimes it's funny to think like, okay, if you're going nuts with those background details, that can influence later story ideas, because you're like, if you're
Yes.
going nuts with that, if this is something that it just is always in the background, how would that affect the world these people are living in? And
Mhm.
is that ever going to become an element like that would actually make a story from it just because
Yeah.
of its presence? I totally, yeah, that is
It's
probably
it's
my
like
favorite
you
thing.
live in the South, so you know exactly what I'm about to say. It's like driving through the South and seeing an Alexander Shannora sign, billboard. Injured in a wreck, call Alexander Shannora. And he's laughing because he knows exactly what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter. As long as you're in the South, you've seen one of those billboards.
Yeah, no, for sure, it is. Or I forget. I think it's right outside of Savannah. He's got billboards all over Savannah.
I know
Jamie
exactly. Yeah.
Casino.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then there's
he's local to there, but yeah.
there's an alligator farm down there too, where it feels like there's a sign on every corner down there as well.
Yep. Yes. Yes, no, it is. It's the local flavor, I guess, is the best way
Yes,
to describe
it is the best way to establish local flavor in a comic book as well. I mean, it translates both ways, and they're so fun to play with. And I love like when you see like, especially Image does a really good job of this. Like, well, there's books within Own Images label, and they do a really good job of just the random signs. It relates to the book, but it's just like a random sign, like if they're driving through the desert or something. Yeah. There's just like this random billboard, and you're like, the hell is, like, okay, whatever. And then you get a few pages over, and it like that sign makes perfect sense now, right? So, but let's talk about the local comic scene. You're based out of Atlanta.
Yes.
And how is the local comic scene there? I mean, I've been to Atlanta like hundreds of times, I feel like, but I've never like gone to a local comic shop there, which is weird. Normally that's like one of my first things I try to do when I go to a city is visit the comic shops and stuff like that. But Atlanta is just one of those cities where it's such a massive place. And you just kind of want to, yeah, you just kind of want to go to where you need to go and then get back in your car and get the hell out of there.
Yes, exactly. So I am actually like, that's a big reason again why I was happy to come on the podcast, and I'm trying to put myself out there more and get in touch with these shops, because I'm unfamiliar with the scene by and large myself. I got into the comic scene largely in New York when I went to school.
Okay.
So it was
they got some really nice stores like within walking distance of New York City. I think it's really weird, right? You would think it's New York City, like you feel like there should be one on every other corner, but there's not.
No,
there's
right.
like Golden Apple, and then there's like Golden Apple number 2 further down the road, and I think there's like one or two more, but they're like hit and miss, and they're usually upstairs. And the stairs are sketchy as fuck, by the way. Just like the people hanging out in front of them is just sketchy. Yeah. Because the entranceway is on an alley, and you're like, I don't want to go down that alley.
No, for sure. I mean, sometimes like those are the best ones, though.
No, and I still went because obviously, I mean, this place is like the place. It has celebrity sign-ins. It's like this huge ordeal within the comic work like scene in New York.
Yeah.
And so you're going to go because you have to see it, right?
No, for sure. I have been in too many places like that for weird VHS tapes or comics, or I'm looking for a vinyl that is. Yeah. It's not. I'm not looking for like the Rolling Stones bargain bin stuff. So. I know exactly what you're talking about. But yeah, I guess with the comic scene down here, from what I can say, is the stores that I have been into and gotten Ghostwood actually on the shelves. The people here have been very, very nice. They're very, very excited to have local artists and local writers get their stuff there. They usually have a whole featured section.
So that's really cool because a lot of places don't do that.
I know, and that was my concern as well, because I've been to a lot of stores that feel more commercial, or like a traditional kind of franchised bookstore.
Or the comic books take the back seat to like the card games and Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, for sure, and that's something I saw. What was kind of nice in Dr. No's.
Hey, give them guys a shout out, man, for letting local guys put their books in the store, because I know there's a lot of guys based out of Atlanta.
Yeah, Dr. No's and Origin Story Comics. Those are two great shops. The people there are nice, and Dr. No's, like, they have, they've got all their games and cards and stuff, but it's on a whole separate side of the store, and their counter is kind of like this big little pod in the middle that divides comic side with games. So it's like nothing ever feels like it's overtaking one or the other.
That's really cool.
Yeah, great store. Right, like by off of think Canton Road, like
Okay, yeah.
Canton Road, like right by outside of Woodstock, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then Origin Story, that is out, I believe, closer to like Norcross or Tucker, somewhere out there.
Yeah.
That was kind of a gamble. I just kind of typed in a comic shop and I went in there, and the people there are awesome. Like it's a smaller little shop. It's just
Mm-hmm.
comics, but they've got a lot of independent stuff, and it's in Decatur. Origin
Okay,
Story.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a restaurant there, and it's like a soul food barbecue restaurant there in Decatur. I can't remember the name of it, but I just remember the food just being like so good. And I stopped there because I smelled it before I seen it.
Yeah, no. Some of the best food in Atlanta is like in Decatur and
Yeah.
kind of around that area. So that checks out.
Yeah, dude. I just remembered we were going through there and I smelled something. It just smelled like, I'm like, I don't know what restaurant that is, but it smells amazing. And then we were probably a little ways outside of the city. And then it hit me again. I was like, we're close to this place. I know we are. And then I seen a smokestack out in the, up the road. I'm like, I bet that's it. We got up to it. I was like, yeah, that's it. We got to stop here.
We have to. Right.
Yeah. Like you have to, because like I smelled it like 5 miles down the road.
You're practically like, if you're a cartoon, you would be like, looking.
100% like Bugs Bunny, It was like, but it was just so good. And we had already eaten, but I was just like, we can get it to go. I don't care, but we have to take some food home from here. So why release some global comics for free?
So largely, I think something like this, and I am just apprehensive breaking into the scene like comics and indie comic writing. I wanted to kind of just get my story out there. I wanted people to be able to read this. I wanted to try and connect with as many people as possible with this, try and find its audience. So I thought Global Comics is pretty popular, and it's
they're one of the bigger ones out there.
Platform. Yeah, I thought it's a solid platform to have this very first issue just like available completely free.
No, and that's really cool.
I think, yeah. No, sorry, I'm rambling.
No, you're good, dude. I was just saying, I'm like, that's really cool to do, because a lot of people won't do that, especially for free. So, but that, like I said earlier, if you go down to the description, you will get the link to that. That way, if you want to read it, you can read it as well. But
I think it is something I just wanted to put it out for free to get people to think like this is something that you can read. This is something that maybe you can connect with, and it's largely what I'm trying to at least signal to some people with that is that I'm not doing this so like I'm not trying to make my career off of this, because I try and work and other things. This is like I'm doing this for the love of it, and I want to keep doing it until the story's done. And so that's one of those things that I'm trying to signal with that first free issue.
No, it's really cool, and I always appreciate that kind of stuff myself. I mean, even though you did send it to me, but just knowing that anybody who may be scrolling the app can come across this and read the entire thing for free. So to me, that's stand-up stuff right there. You know what I'm saying? Or for that kid who may not have the kind of money to go out and purchase a comic book, he can go to the app and read stuff like Ghostwood for free, or she.
Yeah.
But
no, exactly. And for the people who can't, they can't afford a gold subscription on Global Comics, so they don't get that free with gold feature. So it's that was something that I kind of deliberated on when I was seeing that, and I was like, oh, there's a certain limit there.
Yeah.
No, I totally I grew up with free comics from my cousin, giving me hand me down like Fantastic Fours or
Yeah.
like Uncanny X-Men. Like I still have
Yeah.
that volume he gave me somewhere on a shelf with like it's completely peeling apart.
Mhm.
I've read it ad nauseum, but I wouldn't have been able to have gotten into comics if it weren't for the generosity of somebody giving me a free comic. Yeah, I
Same.
remember my grandpa gave me a couple of the what is it, the Boris Karloff
Yeah.
comic. It's the Tales from the Crypt-esque, but not.
Yeah.
From I think was that Golden Key? What was that?
I don't remember the name of it, but I remember Boris Karloff being on the cover of those.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what those were called. Anyway, but yeah, like things like that again. But question aside, but like it was just, I think that is something that with stories like comics or just literature in general and media that
Mhm.
kind of can open the world of imagination and kind of this creative world building to somebody, especially like to kids. I think
Yeah.
having that stuff accessible is awesome. But I would definitely say Ghostwood is not for kids. I want to preface that.
Teenagers. Okay.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I definitely want to say if you're 12 years old, your
Mhm.
parent might get mad if you're reading this. Um,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean you might not understand it. It just means your parents might get mad. Um,
But dude, what's next after issue 1? When can people start looking for issue 2 of this?
Sure. So in the meantime, now that we're going with this print issue and trying to put it in a couple of Atlanta shops. In the meantime, RJ's working on the pages for issue 2, which is much shorter, so it's not going to take as long. Issue 1 had a lot on the front end in terms of setting up the world. Now we don't need to do that at the beginning of issue 2. So
Mhm.
it's kind of that was another reason I think it took me so long just getting into this was like trying to figure out how do I start with this massive world in my head.
Yeah.
But now that I've kind of got the ball rolling and I'm very confident where issue 2 is going. Um, I'm just finishing up like the tweaks on the last couple pages.
Mhm.
And then it's just a matter of, me being able to get enough money to finish the rest of it and get it out there. But we are aiming for hopefully by end of May. I'm thinking is the most
Okay, so
logical
that's not too far
thing
away.
based on. Yeah, it's not. And I know on Global Comics we are listed as bi-monthly. That's like the
Yeah.
ideal goal once we can kind of get the ball rolling a bit more. Film work has been very dry here in Atlanta. So it is kind of hit and miss and then trying to,
Yeah.
make the bills. But yeah, issue 2 is definitely coming up very quick. And it's going to be a different type of supernatural, a little more visceral in terms of like this is going to feel more like an episode of a horror show that you have seen, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be a very self-contained story, as most of these issues will be. Um, and I don't know. I'm excited for that because it's the main character in that issue is one of my favorite characters. The
Okay.
whole thing. Her name is Jasmine Stokes. She's a former art thief. And yeah, she's cool. Like she's just
Yeah.
I don't want to say too much. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. No, don't spoil too much for people. But let's do some
Yeah,
rapid fire questions real quick, and then we'll
sure.
sign it out. All right. So, favorite horror influence?
Favorite horror influence. Probably gonna be a really mishmashed tie between Joe Dante, Stuart Gordon, or Clive Barker.
Ooh, three good ones. Favorite fiction creator?
Favorite fiction creator overall? Wow. Jim Henson.
Ooh, it's a good one. I haven't heard that one before, but that's a really good one. One word to describe Ghostwood.
Um, this isn't exactly gonna. This might throw some people, but I guess if they read a bit more, wacky.
I like it. Dream crossover, any universe.
Big Trouble in Little China with Evil Dead.
Ooh, good one. So we've already talked a lot about where people can read Ghostwood at for free, y'all. Global Comics. But where can they find you and RJ, Zach?
Sure. You can find me on Instagram. And RJ, he's a bit more elusive. He's kind of like a cat in that nature. He likes to hide on a couple things, but he does have an Instagram page. You can reach out to him on there for commissions and see a couple of his things that he does outside of just comics. He's also really great sculptor, and he does film stuff as well. So you can reach out to us there. We both have a couple different websites here and there scattered around. A great way you can also get in touch, or if you want to talk in general about Ghostwood or ask questions about specific elements or characters, is our World Anvil page. That wiki is something where if you've got a question about, you're reading this, you're like, I've got a question about Eric. He's got his own page. You can leave a comment on there, and I see them when they're posted, and I will absolutely respond to those. Obviously, there's something.
I know
to
before you said
spoilers.
that page wasn't up and running yet. Is the page up and running?
It is up and running. There's just a couple articles that are stubs that need to be expounded on. But yeah, it's absolutely up and running. And, we're always trying to make the UI on there a more pleasurable experience. It's kind of coming and going with, how we're trying to get it all together. But it's one of those things, like if people find that, hey, I can't read this on my phone too well, then I'll go on there and I'll try and make it work.
Yeah.
But we're trying to have that as a space where you can talk about the comic, you can talk to us specifically, you can talk about the art. There's spaces for that, and there will be more created spaces and options, as the issues are released and we start to put more stuff out on our Patreon, where that's where we'll have some work in progress sketches or a couple.
Yeah. What's the Patreon for people?
The Patreon is Ghostwood Comic.
Perfect.
So you can just, you'll find it right there. And that's going to have stuff like, if you look at in Ghostwood issue 1, there's like a mad scientist type character. And he does come back. Like, as I said, there, a lot of these people are threads that were put in. RJ and I went through probably like 6 or 7 variations of how this guy should look, and so you can see like a couple pencil sketches on there of what we did and a couple references. A lot of these characters have like a 3D rendering that I did as a reference for RJ to kind of like then build from. So there's stuff like that we'll eventually put on there, and that's where you can get your own like digital copy. Like, you can read it for free, but you can get a free digital PDF on our Patreon. Or not a free, I'm sorry. You have to pay for the PDF there. It's the only place you pay. Unless in the circumstance like here, I'm going to comp you, of course.
Hey, that's the perk of the job, all right?
Yeah. Right.
No, every time like somebody sends me one, I'm so extremely thankful to be sent the book. Even if I had the chance to buy it, like the physical copy, I would 100% buy the physical copy as well, because I am a physical medium collector. So for me, the physical medium will always be the end goal for anything that I collect from a comic book perspective. And don't get me wrong, like some of the guys in the UK, if I back their book, I'm just requesting digital copies now. So I save like $15 in shipping, because the shipping from the UK to the US is just absolutely absurd now. So,
oh my God, yeah,
dude, it's ridiculous.
It's bad. It's crazy too. Like it's becoming a dwindling and difficult way to try and get a couple, comics. One of the big comics I love are the Nightbreed comics from the 90s, like the original run that was continuation. Because that was one of those things, like, I love that movie. I'm like, I wanted the trilogy that was never made. So I read all of those, but I got them from this website that I'm pretty sure it doesn't even exist now. It still looked like it was built in, like, 1999. It was one of those pages, and it was a UK page. And I tried looking it up, and I couldn't find it, but, I mean... I don't know, with search results getting buried the way they do now with AI and crap. But yeah, I mean, the days of trying to just get things physical media wise, especially if they're not things that are being print right now, or they're not at least popular comics that are within frequent circulation. Because like I got all those Nightbreed comics now, and it's like I look them up now. I can barely find any of them on eBay, or like some of the Fright Night comics I got from that website as well. And I had a couple issues I never found, so I try and look them up, and nothing. So it's a difficult kind of thing.
I'm in the same boat with several different series that came out when I wasn't collecting. And like it was a comic book about pirates, but it was like a horror comic about pirates. And I just awesome. Like I found one in a blind box, and never been able to find anything to go with it. I know it was a 4-part series. Cannot find the other 3 to save my life anywhere.
Wow.
Like websites, it's like it was like they made the first one and then just never did the other 3. Even though it says they made the full run of the 4 books, but you go to look for them, there's no trace of them. Yeah, it's just wild how that works.
It's like the Ronald McDonald Loch Ness cartoon episode where like such a limited thing that like people thought it was like a cryptid tape, like they didn't think it was real, and
exactly.
Yeah, wow. No, dude, if
you want to shoot me the Patreon link when we're done here, I will get that included into the description when this goes live on YouTube and also on podcasts and platforms. That way they have access to that as well. I just want to set everybody up who may be interested in this book with all elements of the book and where they can find this really unique and fun book, because I'm telling everybody out there, it is such a fun read. If you got a kid 12, 13 years old, 100% cool book for them to read. There's no that's the perfect age, I think, to start reading this book, in my opinion.
Okay.
But that's just me. But
I started reading Preacher and The Mask when I was that age, but like
same. And people think, oh, it's The Mask. No, don't. The Mask wasn't exactly kid friendly, even though the movie was made like kind of kid friendly. And don't let your kids read The Mask.
No.
And absolutely don't let them read Preacher.
Oh God,
no.
No.
Ass face alone will scare them. But let's bring it home, man. But Ghostwood is one of those projects that reminds you exactly why indie comics matter. No rules, no limits, just creators building something original and putting it out into the world. If you're into horror, conspiracy, and stories that feel like something is always lurking just beneath the surface, then Ghostwood is definitely a book for you to check out. Make sure you follow Zach and RJ, read Ghostwood on Global Comics for free, and support indie creators doing it their way. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the USDN Podcast, where indie comics come to life. The Council of Nerds is now adjourned. Y'all be safe and happy weekend.
It's a trap!
All right.